Today I put together this moon phase hanging garland, and I wanted to share with you how I made it. I put this together for my next video coming up later this week. And to make this, it's really simple. It's just a Salto ornament recipe, basically. You start with 2 cups of regular all-purpose flour, and you're going to use half a cup of salt. And I just use the, table salt. I keep this for project salt since it's super cheap and you don't really want to eat that kind anyway. So go ahead and give that all a good mix in. And to this, you're going to add 3/4 of a cup of warm water. And you're probably going to want to add more than 3/4 of a cup. I think I ended up adding almost a cup and a half as I went on. So just add it a little at a time until it's fully mixed in, and just keep adding more if you need. Then you can go ahead and knead it once it gets real sticky, and once it's smooth, you have your base that you're going to roll out. So again, just add more water if needed as you go once you're kneading to, and then you can go ahead and roll the whole thing out. And the thickness totally depends on how thick you want this, but keep in mind it'll change the baking time. I did mine fairly thick. They're probably almost an inch thick for most of them, but you can do, 1/4 inch if you want to roll it that thin, or you can do 1/2 inch, but it's just going to change. You'll want to keep an eye on it in the oven. So roll this real flat, and then you can get to cutting. I'm going to take a moment to tell you that I'm going to start posting these videos Tuesdays and Fridays. And I'm going to try and just be a little bit more consistent. That's been my arch enemy, was posting consistency. So watch for videos on Tuesdays and Fridays in the afternoon, I believe around 2. I just used a mason jar ring to cut these out, and it was the perfect shape for like the moon size that I wanted, and also because I'm terrible at drawing, it helped me keep a straight shape. I also use this little picture from Pinterest to go off of, which if you're not a good artist like me, that's a good idea. In retrospect, if I had maybe traced with the line of the mason jar as well to make the different phases, if that would have fit, that might have been a good idea, because my lines really weren't, they were quite imperfect, but I don't mind that. It was okay. So some of them are a little bit wonky, and especially the waned phases, as you can see at the bottom there, weren't really my best work, but I did my best. So you just go ahead and trace these out, and you can even use 1 circle for 2 when you get to the smaller sizes. Otherwise, you just make the quarters, the whole, and then you can even do some other ones. You can do a couple new moon ones. You can do the other size in between those ones. I just did 7 total, I think it was. So then you're going to transfer this to nonstick. And by the way, probably flour your working surface, which is something I forgot to do, and it would have been a huge help if I had done that when I was trying to get it off. I just used this little screwdriver tool thing. You can use a pen or a straw to poke holes in roughly the same area as all of them, so that they would hang all about at the same level. And you want to make sure you poke all the way through to the end so that it doesn't get stuck. After this, I went ahead and painted it once it came out. By the way, 300 degrees, and it took me about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. So once it cooled, I went ahead and painted it with the metallic paint. I really liked this one. I used this for my God symbol on my altar as well, this metallic paint, and I quite liked it. Be careful around the hole that you punctured, because if your hole is small, the paint can, keep it sealed. So you want to be careful around the puncture that you made. I used some copper wire to make sort of a jump ring, because if I had just strung it through, they would hang on their side from this direction. So I used a little bit of my crystal wrapping wire to twist it closed through the puncture, and then I used what was left to sort of just make a loop and twist around itself. That way I could have the loop face the other direction, sort of parallel to the wall. And I'm sorry, I mean perpendicular to the wall, and then you can string it so that it'll lay flat against a flat surface. So I went ahead and just strung this up with some hemp string and hung hung it as best I could. You can kind of twist that on the string too to get it to stay in place, or of course make big knots if you want to, but that's it. Hope you enjoyed.